Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I'm welcoming you all to the 2024 AGM. Please, will you all take a seat? Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Mayor.
So, are we all seated? No, we're not. Okay, good to see you all here today. Right, so the next item on the agenda is apologies, I believe. The first item on the agenda is to report apologies from absence from the Chief Executive.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have apologies today for absence from councillors Barnett, Daly, Dumbleton, Sam Edwards, Mackenzie and New.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is to elect a mayor for the ensuing year. Councillor Garcia, will you please propose the motion? Thank you.
Firstly, Councillor O'Rourke, I'd like to congratulate you on an extremely busy year. I'm sure you've had some really wonderful experiences, and I do realise how difficult this year has been. And I'm sure all your fellow councillors will agree with me when I say you've shown real courage through adversity, and your leadership has seen us through some very, very tricky council meetings. But I know you're passing the baton on to a very safe pair of hands. Now to Councillor Ward. For those of you who don't know Simon, he was originally from Oldham, where he lived with his mum, dad and older brother Neil. Simon eventually moved to Long Lawford in 2006 with his wife Carrie, and still they live in the same house today with daughter Ruby and son Noah. It was the work of Simon at Long Lawford Football Club that caught our leader's attention, and he persuaded Simon to get involved in local politics and become a councillor. He officially joined Rugby Council in 2022 when he was elected to represent the ward he lives in, something that I know Simon is really proud of. Sport is another thing that is a major part of Simon's life. Doing a skydive to raise money for charity is only a small part of his endeavours. The core part of sport is teamwork, being civil to each other and integrity, which is so important in any part of life. This is Simon's mantra, and not only as a football coach, but as a councillor. Simon recognises that rugby has a tradition of where people work together and where community is highly valued. And I'm a great believer in the need for communities to have representative people who can symbolise our unity. The Mayor is such a civic representative figure, and I know that as Mayor, Simon will play an incredibly significant role in representing the unity of our common life as residents of the Borough of Rugby. Simon already supports many parts of our community. Indeed, he has been a supporter of the RJ Foundation, which he actually started supporting before he was a councillor. After having tragedy in his own life, Simon has been full of admiration for Naomi Issitten family, after seeing how they've taken such a needless loss and turned it into such a positive situation, doing something that now allows so many lives to be potentially saved. There are now accessible defibrillators all over our borough due to the determination of Naomi and family. And I know how proud and pleased Simon is to support them, and how pleased he is that Naomi is up there today. Simon has always supported our families from the Ukrainian community, originally by football training, but subsequently from a councillor perspective. And again, he's so pleased that many of that community are here with us today. So, Madam Mayor, honorary freemen, past mayors, distinguished guests and fellow councillors, I move that in the 50th year of Rugby Brough Council Councillor Simon Ward is hereby elected Mayor of Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I call on Councillor Slinger to second the motion, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And the first thing that I'll second is Councillor Garcia's comments about your brilliant and exemplary service to our borough for the previous 12 months. There's a tradition when paying tribute to someone to relay their virtues at great length, shoehorning in as many accolades and roles as possible, as if the length of this list is the true measure of the person's wealth, or their worth or effectiveness. Now, I won't be taking this approach with Councillor Ward. Not because he hasn't many achievements under his belt, he has. Not because I want to prove colleagues on all sides wrong about whether or not I can deliver a short speech. I will. But because I think you can judge a person more accurately by the quality of their character rather than the quantity of their achievements. So I'll say a few words, if I may, Madam Mayor, about the cut of his jib. Reflecting on my own personal experience of Councillor Ward since we were elected together 2 years ago, 3 words come to mind: decency, service, and energy. Now, in all my interactions with Simon, and I'll wager in the interactions of everyone in this room with him, his decency shines through. In politics, there are often hidden agendas, ulterior motives, and that's never the case with Simon. He is always honourable, good-humoured, gracious, and kind. Councillor Ward is someone who serves others first and foremost, whether coaching local football teams, championing the RJ Foundation, or his leading role in helping our Ukrainian friends in their time of need through the Rugby Ukrainian community. His service shows his humanity. And finally, energy. Some councillors, I think it's safe to say, are more energetic than others. Now, Councillor Ward is at the energetic end of that spectrum, competing perhaps only with Councillor Moran in his dedication to the sporting life of our borough. He enters into things with gusto, optimism, and good faith, all of which he needed in abundance as he was jumping out of an airplane, raising money for the nominated charity of our outgoing mayor. Now, Simon epitomises my view that 99.9% of people who go into politics do so not for self-aggrandisement, not for power's sake, not for glory, but to serve the community. And while the mayor's role is indeed full of grandeur, I'm sure that Simon will wield its immense soft power solely for good causes, for the good of our council, but most importantly, in the interests of the people of our borough. Finally, if more people in public service approached their role like Councillor Ward does, then our politics, our council, and indeed our community would be the better and the stronger for it. So, Madam Mayor, Honorary Freeman, past mayors, distinguished guests and councillors, I second that Councillor Simon Ward be and is hereby elected Mayor of the Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year.
Thank you. The motion before the meeting is that Councillor Simon Ward be and is hereby elected Mayor of Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against? No. The motion is carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. I, Simon Ward, have been elected to the office of Mayor of Rugby Brough Council, declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe Rugby Brough Council's Code of Conduct for Councillors. Thank you. Honorary Freeman, past mayors, fellow councillors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, firstly, thank you to Councillor Garcia and Councillor Slinger for proposing and seconding and your kind words. I'd like to thank Councillor O'Rourke, Maggie, for your time served as Mayor of Rugby this past year. I know it's been a busy year for you and a difficult one too. And I also put on record my deepest condolences for your loss. Brendan was a lovely man, a real gentleman, and it was a pleasure to know him, albeit briefly. Congratulations to Councillor Barbara Brown. I know I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but on your election as Deputy Mayor, I know that's coming soon. But I look forward to working with you. Yeah. I'd like to thank all councillors for voting to elect me as your Mayor of Rugby for the next year, and I'm looking forward to the role. It's an absolute honour and a privilege, and it's never something that I expected would happen to myself. I'd like to thank fellow Woolston and the Lawfords councillors, Councillor Tim Willis and Heather Timms, for all your support, and I'd like to say a special mention to Councillor Poole, Derek. I'm sure some fellow councillors will agree with me when I say this, that Derek is like a father figure. Yeah. He's very supportive, sometimes pulls you back in line if he feels it's needed, but genuinely, he's always been there and he really cares, and he's an absolute wealth of knowledge and a great sense of humour, which always helps. Personally, I wouldn't be here as a councillor today and now Mayor of Rugby if it wasn't for Derek. I think it's already been mentioned, but he obviously saw something in me a little over 2 years ago that I didn't perhaps even know was there myself. So before that, I was just Simon the football guy. That's what I say. Coaching 4 to 6 year olds and doing a lot for local charities and the local community generally. So thank you, Derek. Yeah. To my beautiful wife, Carrie, who will also be my consort for the year. I don't always necessarily show this as much as I should, but you are the love of my life and my absolute rock. You often have no idea where I'm going to be, as with many councillors, but you're always supportive in everything that I do. Carrie tends to shy away from the limelight, and I'm sure I've probably embarrassed her enough there, so I'll keep it to there. So I'll move on. Our beautiful children, Ruby and Noah. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here today because they're actually in the middle of their A-levels and GCSEs, respectively. My son's actually in the middle of a GCSE exam as we speak. So although, to be honest, I don't think Noah would be here anyway because it would ruin his street cred. Yeah, I've tried. But my daughter Ruby did come along last year. So we, as already been mentioned, we moved to Rugby in 2006 as a family when we bought our first home in Long Lawford, a home that we still reside in today. And what stood out to me immediately when moving here to Rugby was the people of the borough. You go in the local shops and people will talk to you. What I've learnt over the years since we moved here is just how small a place Rugby actually is. Literally everybody knows each other through one link or another. And it's the people of the borough that make it such a special place to live. And I'm looking forward to meeting more and more people through my year as Mayor. My mother, Carol, up there in the top. To those who don't know her, she's always taught me to be independent and to stand up for what I believe in. Yeah. Sometimes it might mean that we have in-depth conversations and discussions and differing opinions, but we tend to always resolve those debates, or at least in some cases agree to disagree. Yeah. That's where my mother-in-law, Fiona, comes in as well. Because Fiona, being a former police officer with a wealth of experience, she works as that peacemaker as well. But jokes aside, both are so supportive. And again, I might not always show this, but I love you dearly. I'd like to say a big welcome to everyone here today, including all my guests that I've invited along, plus those that are watching on YouTube, including friends and family from Oldham, Shaw, Ashton, and all over. I was going to say a bit about everyone here today that I've invited, but to be honest, those who know me know that when I get talking, I can go on for a long time. So we would literally be here till this evening. So perhaps I'd better press on, but please know that I think you're all incredible, all of my guests that are here today, and including friends from my chosen charity, which I'll go on to in some more detail shortly, my good friends from the Rugby Ukrainian community, and everyone else. One thing I will add, though, is that Maggie and I both invited Linda and Louise from Rugby First here today. Yeah. Now, just saying, Barbara, that you might want to consider inviting them along next year. Okay. Yeah, just to keep that status quo. Yeah. Just a thought. Yeah. So on to my mayoral year. I'm looking forward to marking 50 years of Rugby Borough as a council this year and attending many events in and around our town, celebrating this many other occasions and important dates. I know my calendar's already starting to fill up, which is fantastic. My chosen charity for the year is the RJ Foundation, a charity that I'm proud to support and have done since before I was a councillor. Founded in 2022 in memory of 18-year-old Jamie Rees by his family after Jamie suffered a cardiac arrest in the early hours of New Year's Day and sadly passed away a few days later on the 5th of January. The nearest defibrillator to Jamie that fatal night, early hours of the morning, was locked away inside Ashlawn School, obviously very local. Jamie's mum, Naomi, and her family set up the foundation, not only in Jamie's honour, but essentially to make sure that other families don't have to go through what they've been through. The aim, obviously, is to ensure 24/7 accessible defibrillators are available in more and more locations, ensuring that communities are more heart-safe. As I speak, Jamie's Foundation has already purchased and installed 162 24/7 accessible defibrillators, and that figure is rising all the time. I even had to check with Naomi the other day just to say, what number will it be at by Thursday? Because I think we've had 2 this week as well. Many of these are in the Rugby Borough itself, but also in various other locations across the country. You can't really go anywhere in Rugby without passing one of Jamie's bespoke defibrillators cabinets with his photo on the front, which, as I say, is absolutely amazing. And I think we should all give Naomi, Jem and Karen, plus close friends and big supporters, Louise and Isla as well, because I include them in this as well, who are also here today. I think we should all give them a big round of applause for everything that they've done. Thank you, I'm glad I wasn't the only one on that one. I hope you all join me in supporting my chosen charity this year. I can't even begin to express the admiration that I have for Naomi and her family and how they channel their emotions and their heartache into such positivity in Jamie's legacy. Incidentally, a date for your diaries, which is next month, Saturday the 22nd of June, is the RJ Festival and Fun Day, which is being held at Newbold Rugby Club. And it will also involve a charity football match between the RJ Foundation and a Lawford United team. So the RJ team will include Jem, who's sitting up there, and the Lawford team will include myself, but there's many other people playing in the match as well. So kick-off will be 11 o'clock on the day, and the event itself runs until 10 p.m. It's fun for all ages, local stallholders, live music, and so much more. Please come along and show your support. And be entertained at how we still think we can play football. Or at least try to. There will also be many other activities throughout the year which I'll keep everyone posted on. And again, I hope you'll support. as was already mentioned last year, I jumped out of a plane to support Maggie's chosen charity, Myton Hospice.
Eventually.
Yeah, the third time lucky, on that one, on New Year's Eve. But it wasn't my doing, by the way, it was the weather, yeah. But I hope others are going to join me in this room. We've come up with lots of wacky ideas and things like that. I'm open to suggestions of anything that wants to be done to support my charity. So on to my theme for the year. My theme is youth, as this is something that I'm passionate about. I want to shine a light on the youth of our borough, as there are so many incredible children and young adults that deserve some recognition. I'd like to invite school councils into the chamber to have debates. I know this already happens anyway, but more and more. Visit schools alongside the RJ Foundation, where we can educate about CPR and the use of defibs. Meet some of the incredible youth and young adults in our borough. Give some recognition to those deserving. Again, I'm open to suggestions on this as well, so I reach out to everybody in this room. If you know a local child or young adult that deserves some recognition, please let me know, and I'll see what I can do. Finally, there's one other person that I would like to mention, which is someone that I don't talk about very often, and that's my dad, Stephen Ward. It's 31 years this year since my dad took his own life when I was just 13 years old, and my brother Neil was 15. I guess in part that's why youth is such a passionate theme for me, and I just know my dad will be looking down today with great pride. It's another reason why I so admire how Naomi and her family are tackling head-on what happened to Jamie to make sure that it doesn't happen to others. I know I still couldn't get involved in anything to do with suicide awareness, as it will always be raw to myself. But on that note, I'd like you all to join me, and those who are able to please stand to mark a minute's silence. This is to think about all loved ones that are no longer with us today. Thank you, everybody. Please be seated. Thank you. So the next item of business. Yeah. Yes. Okay. So the next item on the agenda is to appoint a deputy mayor for the ensuing year. Councillor Moran, to propose the motion.
Mr Mayor, Honorary Freeman, past mayors, distinguished guests and councillors. I wish to start by placing my personal thanks and appreciation for you, Mr Mayor, for stepping forward. On behalf of my group, we pledge to work fully with you to support you in your charity and your work. And I can only echo the words of Councillor Slinger in understanding my understanding of relationship with you to date and your sincerity in what you do. So thank you sincerely for putting yourself forward. It would also be remiss not to say thank you equally to our retiring mayor. I think I've been in awe, and I've told you many times of what you've achieved. I'm also conscious my role now is to propose and move that Councillor Barbara Brown be and is hereby appointed Deputy Mayor of the Rugby Brough Council for the ensuing year. I'm conscious that I'll have an opportunity, Councillor Brown, next year to speak more at length. And conscious equally of Councillor Slinger's comment about that I can speak briefly. All I'll say is yourself, for me, together with Maggie and Ish, were the pivotal reason that I got re-engaged with politics. Thank you for that. And I know that when we spoke at length those early days, all we ever spoke on is outcomes. And what I love so much about everything that you do and you stand for is that it's always about the outcome, the people, and serving your community first. So I think when the time comes, you'll be a fantastic mayor. So I'm truly proud to propose that nomination.
Councillor Livesey to second the motion.
Mr Mayor, Honorary Freeman, past mayors, distinguished guests and councillors, I second that Councillor Barbara Brown be and is hereby appointed Deputy Mayor of the Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year.
The motion before the meeting is that Councillor Barbara Brown be and hereby is appointed Deputy Mayor of the Rugby Borough Council for the ensuing year. Those in favour, please show. Thank you. Those against, please show. The motion is carried.
So, I, Barbara Brown, having been elected to the office of Deputy Mayor of Rugby Borough Council, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to observe Rugby Borough Council's Code of Conduct for councillors. And I just very briefly want to say, on the script that I've been given, it says, the Deputy Mayor's brief acknowledgement. So I'm acknowledging this very briefly and saying it is a real pleasure and I am so proud to be Deputy Mayor to such an outstanding councillor. And for our brilliant town, I'm looking forward to it so much. And that's it really, other than to say, you know that pride goes before a fall, don't you? So I said I'm proud. I'm notorious for falling over, so I'm going to be really careful when I walk down the steps here to make sure that there isn't another spectacular thing for you to witness. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Once again, may I offer my congratulations, Councillor Brown.
Thank you.
The next item of business is a vote of thanks to the retiring Mayor, Councillor Maggie O'Rourke. Councillor Mistry to propose the motion.
Mr Mayor, Honorary Freeman, past mayors, distinguished councillors, ladies and gentlemen, can I be the second one to congratulate you being the first citizen of Rugby for the ensuing year. And if you need advice, you've got enough past mayors to rely on. I wouldn't take any. Anyway, it's been a remarkable year for Maggie, who has been a great ambassador for the borough of Rugby. A year ago, she set out her stall, what she wanted to do for the people of Rugby and the town. She's always been a rugby girl, who had already established good relationship with many local businesses, local charities, community organizations across the borough, schools, and many faith groups in this town. And a couple of things that she did set out, which is quite remarkable. Her fundraising over her mayoral year has something to admire, I think we all do. She has helped raise funds for Myton Hospice and Hope For, which I'm sure will be appreciated by the two organizations, and she'll probably talk about it later on. In midst of all was supposed to be a great journey with Brendan, I heard the sad news while I was on holiday before Christmas to see that Brendan had passed away. It was a shock to everybody, and you know, I just cannot believe that he's no longer with us. In midst of all this supposed to be a great journey with Brendan, I want to thank everyone who supported Maggie and her family during this difficult period, and support given also by the staff of the town hall and people of Rugby. We'll all miss our Brendan, and I say that sincerely, and our friends in this audience as well. I'm not going to say a lot of things tonight because Maggie will pick it up, some of the things that she has done. Despite the setback, she continued with her mayoral duties, and I'm sure she will share the highlights of her mayoral year in her speech. Mr. Mayor, Honorary Freeman, past mayors, distinguished guests and councillors, I move that the council place on record its appreciation of the manner in which the retiring mayor, Councillor Maggie O'Rourke, has presided over the council during the past year, and she be thanked for her services to the borough. Thank you, Maggie. Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Roodhouse to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations, Simon, in the position that you've now come to, and to you, Barbara, as well. I know as a team together you'll work really well. Mr. Mayor, Honorary Freeman, past mayors, distinguished guests and councillors, I'll come to the last bit at the end, don't you? Where do I start, Maggie, with this? It was a journey at the beginning, and where I start is your leadership of the council, but the leadership within the community has been outstanding. We've seen that throughout the year as where you've gone. You've actually balanced everything. I think even telling me off a few times in the council chamber, the wagging of the finger, and a few of the others around here as well. Because we all know what happens in here, don't we, when hand grenades and stuff get thrown from one side to the other. So your balance and the leadership around how you handle the council, thank you very much. But also within the community and what you did on the journey from day one through there, and the dignity that you've carried on through that year as well. Because the dignity that you've carried with the office, and for all of you in here, just look around the walls of this building and you'll see all the past mayors, aldermans, freemans, the whole lot. And it's that dignity that you've carried with that. Because you don't really know, Simon, until you sat in that chair and then you start that journey, actually how much goes on in this borough, actually what really goes on underneath with the small groups, the organisations, the rest of it. And Maggie this year, quite clearly, using Facebook, has shone a light on to that as well. So thank you very much for that. The last point I wanted to touch on is the courage that you've shown. And that's certainly with Brendan and what happened at that point in time. And the words are being said, he was sadly missed. And he will be sadly missed, and that, I know full well the depth of that at the same time. So your courage with those particular items afterwards, I think, is something that we should all hold to and look at and when we go down forward. So I second that the council places on record its appreciation of the manner in which the retiring mayor, Councillor Maggie O'Rourke, has presided over the council during the past year, and she be thanked for her services to the borough. Thank you, Maggie.
The motion before the meeting is that the council places on record its appreciation of the manner in which the retiring mayor, Councillor Maggie O'Rourke, has presided over the council during the past year, and she be thanked for her services to the borough. Those in favour, please show. Those against, please show. The motion is carried unanimously. Okay. Big round of applause.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, ladies, gentlemen, councillors, past mayors, freemen and distinguished guests. I'd like to start by congratulating you, Mr. Mayor, on your appointment, and also you, Councillor Brown, as well. I'm sure you'll be an absolutely splendid double act. And I wish you all the very best. I don't know if Barbara will jump out of a plane for you, though. Right, I'd also like to say thank you very much to both Councillor Udhat and Mystery for their very, very kind words. It's very kind of you. It's been an honour and a privilege to hold the office of Mayor of Rugby for the last 12 months. When I stood up here last year signing the declaration, I really had no idea what to expect. However, I did know that I was determined to spend as much time as I could with local people in the town, a town that I'm proud to call my home. I was also determined to recognise the outstanding contributions made by so many people and so many groups in our town. Being able to see close up the time and commitment that so many local people give to make this town a better place for all of us was a really humbling experience. During the year, I have invited councillors, officers, leaders, staff, charity, community groups, businesses and children into the parlour. We've had several schools debating issues in this very chamber, and it's good to hear that you're going to carry forward with that as well, Mr. Mayor. And the last event, we actually had 60 children turn up in a double-decker bus from Hillmorton Primary School who chose their own topic to debate in this chamber. I had no influence over it whatsoever, and it was about what they'd like to see in the town centre. So I have asked them to write to the leaders of the council and tell them what they think. I have to say, chairing that meeting, it was an absolute pleasure. The kids are all amazing, and, you know, people say politics is boring, but the kids really enjoyed it. They loved it. In fact, Kevin and Caroline and I had quite a hard time getting them off the microphones and back out there again. So, it was lovely. I loved that experience. So, I love this town, and as the town centre councillor, I truly want to do everything I can to promote our town centre. We have so many amazing businesses, and I was so very proud to be able to host several networking events with the town centre businesses and stakeholders. All I wanted to do was to get everybody communicating, collaborating and connecting. I also held a business networking event for businesses across the borough. The event was quite interesting, actually. It followed the Business Network Intelligent Rules, which means that all speakers can only actually speak for 30 seconds. So it was very interesting when we actually asked the three political leaders to actually observe that 30 seconds, and the bell did go a few times on them, but hey-ho. So the last 12 months have been a bittersweet experience for me. Losing my husband and consort Brendan unexpectedly in December was heartbreaking. And it has been a very difficult time for my family. And for all of us really to come to terms with, as we all miss him so much. Brendan was the best person you could have at your side when holding this office. He was a very sociable person. He loved being with people, chatting and engaging with everyone he met. He had this amazing ability to put people at ease very quickly, and he was a really good listener. So before it all gets too emotional and I get upset, I want to place on record my sincere thanks to my husband Brendan for his unwavering support as my consort. Thank you, Brendan. Thanks also to the wonderful generosity of the people of this town, my family and friends and councillors. Brendan's Memorial Fund raised over £6,000 for two local charities, Hope For and the Rugby Club. Thank you to everyone for their support. It's meant a lot to the family and to me, so thank you. Thank you to all the Democratic Services staff, janitors, and both of the Mayor's secretaries, Thatcher and Caroline. You've all been amazing. Thank you so much for your support throughout the mayoral year. To Kevin, a special friend to both Brendan and I, I'd like to say a heartfelt thanks to you for your support, guidance and care. Last week, I had a small reception in the parlour to say a personal thank you to all of them for looking after me so well. And I hope they enjoyed it. I certainly did. During the reception, it was my pleasure to present Kevin with the Mayor's Special Appreciation Award. The words on the certificate were as follows: in recognition of your outstanding contribution during the mayoral year, I thank you for being a loyal and trusted personal advisor, photographer, personal shopper, chauffeur, chief security officer, and so much more. Thank you, Kevin. You're simply the best. So I haven't finished with you yet, Kevin. So one funny story before I move on. Kevin, in September last year, I don't know if you remember, you were taking me to several heritage events. One was at the Percival Guild House. Kevin parked his car in the Astor car park, and when we returned to the car, Kevin was unable to gain access to the driver's seat as the car next to us had parked so near. So Kevin decided to come through the passenger door, and I have to say that it didn't go well at all. Kevin got himself well and truly wedged between the two seats. Mad thoughts flashed through my mind. The front page of the Advertiser leading with Mayor's chauffeur rescued by local firefighters. Anyway, I'm pleased to say, Kevin, as always, you managed to get yourself out of a very tight spot that day. And since then, he's been very cautious about where he parks. Sorry. 1, 2, 3. Right, so I want to do another thank you as well. So I'd like to call forward my Army Cadet, Arthur Mortimer. I want to thank you for your outstanding service to me during my mayoral year. You've been absolutely fantastic, very sort of calm, collective. You delivered a lovely prayer for me at St Andrews. You spoke and you've been brilliant. You're a real inspiration. And I'd just like to place my thanks on record to you. And I'd like you to come forward because I've got a little present for you. So, the Mayor's charities. The Mayor's charity this year has raised over £12,000 through fundraising and sponsorships and people jumping out of planes and doing bungee jumps and all sorts of things. So, thank you to everyone who supported my charity. I'm very pleased to confirm that the Children's Counselling Room is almost completed now at the Rugby Myton Hospice Hub. And the final touches have just been added to the room by the pupils from Rugby School's art department with the support of Joseph Ryan, the head of art. They are painting a very beautiful mural on the wall for the children when they come in. So I'm going to finish in a minute, but I was just thinking about all the things I did throughout the year, and I did some amazing things, and I met so many amazing people, and just blew me away, really, because it is so humbling. But one of the things I did do, and I know several of you have already done this as well, I had a night out with the street pastors, and that was really interesting. I think I did over 30,000 steps, and we started at 10 o'clock, and you finished about 4 o'clock in the morning. And it's quite hard, you know, walking and staying awake when you're normally in bed at that sort of time. And it was interesting, you know, what I saw, and the compassion of those street pastors and their patience is truly amazing. And of course, they received one of my Mayor's Special Appreciation Awards. But this particular night when we were out, all sorts of things happened. But just about 3 o'clock in the morning, as we were looking to wind down, we found a woman that was out cold. You know, it was really quite scary. We were trying to sort of get around, and then the police came, and there was this little man there that kept on telling everybody what to do, and he was really shouting. He wouldn't shut up, and he kept on and on and on and on. And anyway, he had an opinion about everything. In the end, we got the woman round, and two of the street pastors took her home in a taxi to make sure she was okay, and she got home safely. And during that time, I had to sit down with the other two street pastors to wait for those street pastors to come back. And this little man came over, and he started telling us how awful everybody was, and he was using very colourful language. He sort of hated everybody, the police, the council, just everybody. And he went on and on and on. And then he looked at the three of us, and he said, but I think the street pastors are absolutely amazing. And he looked at me and he said, and who are you? I said, I'm a trainee street pastor. Forgive me for telling a lie. Anyway, it has been a pleasure. It truly has. It has been difficult, but I feel very honoured to have held the position of First Assistant for 12 months. Thank you so much, all of you, for your support.
The next item of business is a vote of thanks to retiring councillors. The motion before the meeting is the council places on record its appreciation of the contribution which retiring councillors A. Barrow, Douglas, Rabin, Sue Roodhouse, Robbins and Watson Merritt made during their service as members of the Borough Council. Councillor Poole, will you propose the motion?
Mr Mayor, I move the motion, and can I say congratulations on your appointment and for mentioning me, which rather embarrassed me. Thank you very much. And congratulations, Madam Deputy Mayor, on your appointment. And Maggie, well done for the last 12 months. Mr Mayor, I know Councillor Roodhouse will speak in a moment, and I know Councillor Moran will second the motion. But I lost 4 councillors this year, 2 with retirement and 2 lost their seats. Councillor Julia Barrow served on the Bilton ward from 2014 to 2020. I'll just stop there. Madam Deputy Mayor, I've also got a note saying brief speech. So I will be quick. Julie served on 7 panels and committees and retired this year in 2024. Councillor Rabin was elected to Newbold and Braunsover in 2021, and he served on 7 committees and panels. Councillor Watson Merritt was elected in 2021 and lost a seat and was re-elected in 22, and she served on, excuse me a moment, 8 panels and committees, and she was my portfolio holder for traded services, and congratulations to her. And finally, ex-councillor Carolyn Robbins. What can I say? 36 years she served this council from 1983 to 2024 with a 5-year break. So 36 years of undying service, and I can only thank you. Lastly, Carolyn served on 16 panels and committees. She was our mayor and deputy mayor and mayor in 1992, 93, 93, 94. And for the last 8 years, she's been my portfolio holder and the previous leader's portfolio holder for finance, not regulatory services, finance and governance. And congratulations on your retirement, Carolyn. I will do the last bit after Jerry has spoken. Mr Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moran, will you second the motion?
Mr Mayor, Honorary Freeman, past mayors, distinguished guests and councillors, I'm very pleased to second that motion from Councillor Poole, that the council places on record its appreciation for retiring councillors. I can only really speak for councillors that I knew, so I would like to pay particular thanks to councillors Tim Douglas and Councillor Sue Roodhouse, who clearly made very different contributions in the town hall, in the chamber. Clearly, Councillor Douglas spoke incredibly passionately and incredibly forcefully on topics that he was an expert in. And I think it's a lesson there that when he spoke on matters that he had experience of, and I think he made very telling contributions. So his shoes will be difficult a challenge to fill. Councillor Sue Roodhouse clearly wasn't quite so vocal in the chamber, but I think all those that knew her sincerity, her depth of character shone through, and is probably a good example of what councillors should do going forward. For councillors I knew less well, I wish to place on record an appreciation of their public service, because ultimately we all appreciate we make sacrifices in what we do. So thank you to all of them as well. Thank you.
Councillor Roodhouse, do you also wish to speak?
I've got to be careful what I say, haven't I? I'll speak about Tim Douglas and Sue first, and then a couple of other comments about all the other councillors. Tim, as was said, is passionate about the things that he was passionate about, and he was very good within the group, the way that he worked within the group and how that particular elements came through. And I think the graffiti task force that was there, I got fed up of seeing photographs coming through to me of everything that had graffiti on it. He was in there. So when he got going with things, he was passionate about it. But of course, yeah, life moves on, and quite clearly with his new baby and everything else with life, the time comes he thought, I need to step back. But I'm pretty sure that will come a point where he'll want to step back into that political arena again, whether it's here or elsewhere, who knows. I turned to the other councillor, Councillor Sue Roodhouse. Where do I start? So Sue's served on the council for, 21 years, starting off in Caldicott Ward, when we had the old names of the wards within that. In fact, David Cameron came to Caldicott Ward to the Kingsway shops while Sue was out for electioneering that year. So we can say that my wife beat David Cameron in Caldicott Ward at that point in time. For those that know her, if you don't do your casework, you'll get an earful of stuff, you know. If nothing else, you need to do your casework and do your ward work. She's also an expert on licensing, as some members would know, with Julia Barrow and the sub-task force groups that meet on a regular basis for those that can make it on there, and she became a bit of an expert around those particular elements. She'll be a sad loss within the group as well about that work because of the casework and the elements there to it. So I think it's only right placing on record for Tim and Sue, but also placing on record our thanks to all those councillors who've served, who've either lost seats or or moved on. Or Caroline, I wish you all the best in your retirement. Which brings me round really that we all get involved in this through public service. You've mentioned it today, Mr. Mayor, and those elements. And that's the starting point, I think, for most elected members, that we have public service. As I said, if you look around this chamber and look at the mayors, the aldermen, and going back into the old district council days and on, it's there. They all wanted to serve the people of Rugby, regardless of, if you like, the political tribalism that's about. So that was the starting point for this. And I think that's the main point, really, that we all collectively really say the same things, but we all come at it from a different point of view. And what we have to show within that different points of view is about can we actually do that in a dignified and a respectful way, in a good, honest, open debate going forward. And I think if we look at the historical context of this, in this chamber that we're sat in today, We need to take that on board more today than ever before, because that's what the future is. We have to listen, and then we have to debate, and then take it forward. Throwing hand grenades at each other is not very helpful. You can either stay in trenches or get out of trenches and stop the war and actually look at what residents want. That's what all the people in this chamber, and you, Mr. Mayor, and the past Mayor, Maggie, you will realise that, because you don't understand this borough until you've really been in that seat and looked around and seen what's going on. I'll draw my comments to a close, Mr. Mayor. It's 50 years of this borough, and previous to that, there's a district. There's been lots of councillors walk through this place, and there's lots of councillors that have done great and public service. So it's only right that today we place on record our thanks as a council to the public service that's been shown by the councillors that have either retired or lost their seats and going off to do other things that they wish to do. And therefore, I think that's the main point about this. It's the collective public service that they've shown is fantastic.
Mr Mayor.
Councillor Poole.
Mr Mayor, Honorary Freeman, past mayors, distinguished guests, councillors, ladies and gentlemen, I move that the council places on record its appreciation of the contribution which retiring councillors Barrow, Douglas, Rabin, Robbins and Sue Rudaz and Carolyn Watson-Merritt made during their service as members of Rugby Brough Council. I so move.
Do I have a seconder on that?
Madam,
I know we're still getting used to Mr. Mayor rather than Madam Mayor. It's new to me as well. Yeah. So I will now put the motion to the meeting. Those in favour, please show. Those against, please show. The motion is carried unanimously. So item number 6, mayoral announcements. So one item which has kind of been mentioned already as well. So this council celebrates its 50th anniversary this municipal year, following a merger between the Rugby Urban District Council and the Rugby Rural District Council, which came into effect in 1974. The 50th anniversary gives us an opportunity to celebrate the very best of the borough, commemorate the council's service to its residents and recognise the contributions of so many. There will be a number of events held over the coming year to mark this anniversary, and these will be promoted in due course. Item number 7. The next item is to receive the report of the returning officer on the Borough Council elections held on the 2nd of May 2024. Chief Executive.
Mr Mayor, the report of the returning officer has been circulated to all members with the agenda. It gives details of the votes cast for each candidate in the wards contested and indicates the candidates elected who have made a declaration of acceptance of office.
Apologies, yeah. So I extend a very warm welcome to new councillors, Claire Edwards, Freeman, Henderson, Howling, Thomas and Trimble. I hope that you will find your time on the council rewarding. Thank you. Item number 8. The next item of business is to receive the Chief Executive's report concerning the constitutional arrangements and allocation of seats to party groups for the 2024-25 municipal year, which has been circulated separately to all members. I move the adoption of the report of the Chief Executive. Who will second the motion?
I will, Mr Mayor.
I shall now put the motion to the meeting. I would remind you that if there is any dissent, the motion cannot be adopted. Those in favour, please show. Those against, please show. The motion is carried without dissent. Item number 9. The next item of business is to receive the report of the Chief Executive concerning appointments to outside bodies by virtue of office and other miscellaneous appointments. I move that the report be deferred to a future meeting. Who will second the motion?
I'll second the motion, Mr Mayor.
I shall now put the motion, the motion to defer the report to a future meeting. Those in favour, please show. Those against, please show. The motion is carried unanimously. That concludes the business of the meeting. I thank you for your attendance, and I'd like to see you all in the Ben Hall for refreshments, and we can have a bit of a chat and everything. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Honorary Freeman, past mayors, distinguished guests and councillors. All guests are now invited to join the Mayor in the Ben Hall for a small reception. Officers from the Democratic Services team will direct guests now. Councillors may leave their robes and hats on their seats.